In 1901, sponge divers pulled a corroded lump of bronze out of a shipwreck. It sat in a museum drawer for years, unremarkable, ignored. Just another piece of rusted metal from the ancient world. Then someone looked closer and found gear teeth, machined, precise, cut by hand more than 2,000 years ago. This is the Antikythera Mechanism, and to this day nothing else like it exists from the ancient world. The story begins with a storm. A group of Greek sponge divers were sheltering near the island of Antikythera, between Crete and mainland Greece. While waiting out the weather, one diver went down. He surfaced in a panic. He described bodies on the sea floor, horses, human figures, limbs scattered across the sand. He thought he had found the dead. What he had actually found were statues, bronze and marble, spilled across the wreck of an ancient cargo ship that sank around the 1st century before the Common Era. The recovery operation that followed was dangerous and primitive. Divers in heavy suits working far deeper than was safe. One diver died, 2 were paralyzed. But they brought up an extraordinary haul. Statues, glassware, coins, jewelry, and one shapeless mass of bronze and wood, so corroded it looked like nothing at all. It was catalogued and set aside. Months later, the lump split apart as it dried. Inside were gears, not decorative, not symbolic, actual interlocking gear wheels with triangular teeth, cut with a precision nobody expected from the ancient Mediterranean. Nothing in the archaeological record prepared anyone for this. For decades, nobody could explain it. Some assumed it must be a later object that had somehow fallen into the wreck. The alternative was harder to accept, that the Greeks had built a geared mechanical device more than 1,000 years before anything comparable appears again in Europe. The breakthrough came slowly across the 20th century as imaging technology improved. X-rays, then computed tomography scans that could see through solid corrosion and read what was inside without cutting it open. What those scans revealed changed how we understand ancient technology. The device contained at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, possibly more in the portions now lost. It had a hand crank on the side. Turning that crank drove the entire system, and the system tracked the sky. The mechanism modeled the movement of the sun and the moon. It tracked the phases of the moon using a small rotating half-black, half-silver ball. It could indicate the positions of the known planets. It predicted eclipses, marking them on a spiral dial covering more than 200 months. It even tracked the 4-year cycle of Greek athletic games, including the Olympics. Inscriptions covering the surviving fragments function almost like an instruction manual, describing what the dials showed. This was not a toy. It was an analog computer, a machine that took a single input, the turn of a handle, and calculated the state of the heavens on any given date. And here is the part that is genuinely hard to sit with. Building this required more than astronomy. It required knowing how to cut precise gear teeth in bronze. It required understanding gear ratios well enough to model irregular orbital motion. The mechanism even includes a pin and slot arrangement that reproduces the Moon's variable speed across its orbit, a subtlety that suggests deep theoretical knowledge behind the engineering. Someone had to design it. Someone had to machine it. Someone had to have done this before, because nobody builds something this refined on the first attempt. Which raises the obvious question, where are the others? And that is the real mystery. Not how it worked, we largely understand that now. The mystery is why it stands alone. There is no workshop full of similar devices, no second mechanism, no clear line of successors leading forward into later technology. Ancient writers do make scattered references to devices that model the heavens. Cicero described a bronze instrument that showed the motions of the sun, moon, and planets. So the mechanism was probably not unique when it was made. There were likely others. But bronze is valuable. Broken machines get melted down and recast into something useful. Almost every ancient bronze object we have today survived by accident, and most of those accidents happened underwater, where nobody could reach them to scrap them. This device survived because a ship sank. That is the entire reason we know it existed. Which means the picture we have of ancient technology is not a record of what they could do. It is a record of what happened to survive. After the Roman era, this kind of geared complexity fades from the European record for a very long time. Similar sophistication reappears in the Islamic world and later in medieval European clockwork, centuries down the line. Whether that represents a lost tradition, a transmitted one, or independent reinvention is still debated. So we are left holding a corroded green fragment behind glass in Athens, a machine built by hands we cannot name, designed by a mind whose reasoning we can partly reconstruct but never meet. The only surviving example of something that was almost certainly not the only one. And every time someone claims the ancient world was simple, this object is sitting there, quietly proving otherwise. If stories like this keep you curious, stay close. There is more buried in this channel, waiting to be found.